Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Books. Today I have another book review for you, and that is for Mr. Monster by Dan Wells. This is the second book in the John Cleaver series. The first book was called I Am Not a Serial Killer, which I read a little under 2 years ago, and I absolutely loved that book. It was one of my favorite books of 2023. I've got a review for it on the channel if you're interested. But yeah, I really loved that book, and I've been wanting to continue the series ever since, but I just had never been able to find books 2 or 3 in local bookstores or anything like that, and so I just had never gotten around to getting it, but I did decide recently that I am going to listen to books 2 and 3 on audiobook. And so I did that, and I really enjoyed this book. I think I enjoyed it just about as much as the first book. I think I still slightly preferred the first one, but only by just a little bit, barely. I think they are very similar in terms of quality, in terms of entertainment value, in terms of enjoyment. I think if you enjoyed the first book, you will also enjoy this one. So to talk about the things I enjoyed about this book, which is the vast majority of what I have to say. First of all, I still really enjoy the character work in this book. This series is told in first-person perspective, from the perspective of the character who is the name of the series, John Cleaver, who is a teenager. I believe in this book he's 16 years old, who I can't remember exactly what he has. I can't remember if it's I can't remember the term for it, but basically he has some psychological attributes to him that are very similar to what you might find in like a serial killer, basically, and he has rules for himself that, forces him not to hurt other people, but he still very much has those psychological aspects, and that makes him a very interesting character to read the perspective of, because he sees people very differently from how most people would, and sees situations and things like that very differently from how most people would. Makes him a very interesting character to read about, and I really enjoyed seeing more of that in this book. Basically, the premise for at least the first 2 books, I of course haven't read the third one yet, but essentially in each of these books there is a serial killer who shows up in his town, and him being, having the psychological attributes that he has and things like that, and also taking a particular interest in serial killers himself, he decides to investigate these killings and tries to figure out what's going on and things like that. And so in this book, that happened in the first book, that happens again here, and the plot of this book is very interesting, where you have him kind of trying to live, his normal teenager life, more so than in the first book. He is really kind of trying to be a normal teenager. In this book, he does things like he goes out on some of his first dates, he goes out and tries to be more social with his classmates, things like that he didn't really do much of in the first book. He was much more kind of alone in the first book. He has a friend named Max, and he has, his family and stuff, but he is very much not the kind of person who would go out and do those kinds of things. You get him doing more of that in this book, and it was interesting seeing a person like him trying to participate in things like that. I thought was really cool. And as he is doing that, this other killer shows up and starts murdering people, and he gets once again drawn into it. And I really enjoyed the plot of this book, of getting that side of him, but on top of that, having him once again trying to track down this killer, figure out things about him, trying to figure out who it is so he can prevent them from hurting more people and all these kinds of things. And I really enjoyed that about this book. The plot is, I really liked getting him as a character. The other big thing that kept me drawn to this book was the plot of constantly getting these little clues of what's going on, eventually figuring out, who is behind these killings, and John then trying to, figure out how to put a stop to them. And that is all just really interesting in this book. This plot had me on the edge of my seat at multiple points, especially in the back half of the book, and just was really, really well done. I really enjoyed it a lot. And I also, on top of, the characters, and on not just John as well, like all the side characters are done well. He's the most interesting character, I think, in this series, because you get a lot from his perspective, and he has a very unique perspective. All the other characters are done well also. And in addition to the characters and the plot, I also enjoy the way this expands a little bit on the world building of this series. This series is pretty much real world. It takes place in the real world, but there are some supernatural elements to this series, which is something that I guess some people don't know going in. So if you are wanting to read this series, be aware that the killings are not necessarily regular serial killers. There is something supernatural going on there, and this book expands more on those elements, gets a little bit more into what is going on there, which is really interesting. It doesn't go maybe quite as far as I might have liked with that. I still have more questions and things that I kind of want to know, but it is still really well done and things like that, and I really enjoyed. I appreciated getting some more answers as to what exactly is going on here. I thought that was really interesting. So that's pretty much everything good I had to say about this book. Overall, it was just really fun, really entertaining. I was engaged pretty much all the way through. This book had me on the edge of my seat at many points, very tense, especially towards the end. I would say I've seen this series described both as a horror series and a thriller series. I feel like the first book, even though it had its horrifying moments, leaned much more to thriller. I think this book definitely dips much more into horror, especially in the back half of the book. Like I said, that's where some really just crazy things happen, and I think this one definitely fits more the horror label. Yeah, just was very tense, very, edge of your seat kind of book, I think. As far as anything I didn't love so much about this book, I will say the investigation and mystery aspects of it didn't quite grab me the same way as the first one. I still enjoyed it, but it didn't grab me the same way as the first one. And also I had some little issues with some of the characters and the plot, just here and there, just little things, which I can't really get into because I would consider them to be spoiler related. So I'm not going to talk about those, but there were just some little things here and there that didn't quite land for me. But overall, in general, I did really enjoy this book, and those few little issues were just that. They were little issues that didn't really detract from my enjoyment. They just kind of made me stop for a second and be like, I don't know how I feel about that. But that's pretty much it. Other than that, I really loved this book. Overall, fantastic book. Definitely would recommend it, especially if you love the first book. If you love the first book, I think you'll love this one as well. As far as a rating out of 10, I would give Mr. Monster, I'd give it like a 9.5 out of 10. Even though I have, those small issues with it, it was very entertaining throughout. I was really into it. I really enjoyed listening to it. Had a really good time with it. Dan Wells, I think, does a great job writing these kinds of stories, does a really great job of writing tension and disturbing topics and moments, does a really good job with the psychological aspects of this character, all that stuff. Very, very well done. And I am very excited to read book 3 here soon, which I'm probably going to try to do by the end of the year if I am able to. So that's pretty much it for this one. Let me know in the comments if you've read Mr. Monster and what you thought of it, if so. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't, whatever you thought, let me know. And what you thought of this series, if you've read the whole series before, which book's your favorite, which one's your least favorite, if this one happens to be your favorite, whatever your thoughts may be, let me know down in the comments. So that is pretty much it for this video. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.